25 years of fearless and independent journalism. Hello, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We are live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA09925939. Our top stories this hour. Industrialization versus immediate loss of jobs. That's the argument being made in Parliament as government pushes for a ban on importation of damaged vehicles and those older than 10 years. The minority says it will lead to loss of jobs, but Trade Minister insists is the sure way to Ghana's industrialization drive. Also in this package, Deputy Attorney General names former President John Mahama as government official one in the Airbus scandal as he hints persons indicted in the report will be held to account. With details of that story and more. And you must have felt the rain at your end. Well, we did here. This afternoon, we discussed the country's preparedness for the predicted rains this month. Representatives of NADMO are in studio with me, and we look forward to your thoughts and questions on Ghana's preparedness for the rains. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144, and on YouTube, where we are streaming live. You can drop us a message on our WhatsApp platform on 0540109009. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. We start off in Parliament, where the Joint Finance and Trade Committee is recommending that the House approves an amendment to the Customs Bill that will ban the importation of used vehicles that are more those that are more than 10 years old. The amendment will also ban the importation of salvage vehicles. Government says the move is part of incentives being offered vehicle manufacturers under the Ghana Automotive Manufacturing Development Program. The bill has been read for a second time on the floor, ahead of consideration and eventual passage. So let's get a better understanding of this situation and more details as Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, joins us from Parliament via Skype. Hello, Joseph. Joseph, if you do hear me, now help us understand from which stage this goes. You said already that it's been read for the second time in Parliament. What are the processes and what next from this stage? Looks like we lost Joseph Opoku-Gakpo there, but we'll raise him back on Skype so he tells us the details. Government is looking to bring in more vehicle manufacturers, as we heard President Akufo-Addo said in April. One of them will already will be starting. We also know that by end of the first quarter of this year, another will be starting. But one of the things they're doing to give these people an incentive to work and to manufacture their vehicles here in Ghana is to make sure that salvage vehicles are no longer imported. The minority in Parliament is kicking against it because they say that so many people are connected in terms of employment. So many people are connected to this trade, importation of those vehicles. How do you make sure that these people do not lose their jobs is the argument that the minority is making. Well, we're here to get the details, whether or not this the Trade Minister was able to push through with that agenda of banning or changing the customs bill to ban the importation of these vehicles. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, we've been able to raise him back on the phone to give us the details. Joseph. Not much luck there again with Joseph's line, but certainly we'll raise him back on the phone so we get more information on that. And also we know that the Member of Parliament for Kumbungu, Ras Mubarak, also went to Parliament today with a mask on his nose. Well, he's certainly one of the people who have raised concerns about quarantining President Akufo-Addo and his team, who went on an European tour. They went to Norway, they went to the United Kingdom, they went to Switzerland. In all of these three countries, there have been reported and confirmed cases. His fear is that the president and his team could be spreading that, and he's been asking for them to be quarantined. That has not happened. We'll get details when Joseph joins us on the line, why he went to Parliament with that mask. But right now, let's talk about children. Children living in witches' camps, and those doing that in northern Ghana have spoken of the daily struggles that they live with accessing basics of life. JoyNews' latest documentary, Serving the Witches, has blown the lid off the life of servitude that hundreds of these girls go through, working for their older relatives who have been accused of witchcraft. In the following report, JoyNews' Justice Bedu tells the story of the girls, the fact that some of them are denied education and left marking time to the day they are handed out for marriage as child brides.
This was an event in December 2019 celebrating the closure of one of Ghana's largest witches' camps.
I humbly officially declared Nabule alleged witches' camp duly closed.
Setting over 50 women accused of witchcraft free to go back home. It was a happy day. Everyone in this village was in attendance, including the chiefs and even soothsayers who for years have been believed to have the power to pass a judgment on whether a woman is a witch or not. The women who have been living in these camps have been condemned to a life of bondage, torture, and sometimes murder. But the unheard dark secrets of Ghana's witches' camps are the stories of the hundreds of children and minors who live here. Some were actually born in these camps of bondage. Others brought in to live with women suspected to be witches.
Witchcraft accusation is deep-seated. These children who accompanied this woman are also tagged as witches' grandchildren.
Ghana is heralded the world over as a shining example of a human rights oasis in a region noted for widespread human rights abuse cases. So why does this country still maintain camps for witches? As over 400,000 children of school-going age remain out of the classroom, these camps are worsening the problem.
If children are not in school in the camp, then it even makes it more serious.
What is needed to take these children out of these camps of abuse, which are ironically seen as safe havens away from persecution and brutality? This film lifts the veil off the dark, lonely world of the children living in Ghana's witches' camps. It's a Harmattan morning in Nabule. The weather is brutally harsh, dry, windy, and cold all at the same time. The town's children have come to gather around fire as dawn breaks. This is how to keep warm here. Mary, like many of the children here, are in the town not because they chose to. Their grandparents were accused of witchcraft. Some of the accused women are old, weak, and frail. Unable to do any chores on their own, they cannot survive in this camp without help. And these children were the ones forced to leave their homes so their weak grandparents could live in a witch's camp.
Ben furan lambu ala kambage bagbe kabi tan tanga ya bane won ya yo suane nta foke bi ngamle nta ben ya ba kin ya kunle ma jin yo no fokbe ke imban kunle ma ban kun ke imbe wiyanle ma ni naka bagbe ke ya yo suane mbam ka bagbe kabi tan nga ma fun be ke ba kin ya yo suane ma fin do no bo ma fin yin ya ma ndo te an konke oko un ka yin konke unja.
For 25 years, Naboli, located in the Gushegu district, has had only one claim to fame: the Naboli Witches Camp. A so-called deity here that could cleanse people of witchcraft became a safe haven for women who came from far and near to seek help after their communities banished them.
Well, joining us to explore this issue, also this latest documentary, is Margaret Brew Ward from Rights Campaign Group, Action Aid, and also on Skype from Tamale is Lamnatu Adam, who has been working in witches camps for about 2 decades. Let's start with you, Madam Brew. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. A lot of people get the sense of helplessness when they hear this story. These are stories that we've heard over and over again. I'm interested to find out what your initial assessment is. Hello? Looks like we're having a difficulty there with our resource persons, but looks like we do have Lamnatu on Skype. Lamnatu, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. You have been following this story for several years, I believe, and you have a deeper understanding. I asked first how people feel a sense of helplessness when they see this story. From where you sit, are we there at a point where we are helpless because we have tried everything and it's not working? Or do you see a real opportunity for us as a country to act, which we are not taking advantage of?
Well, good afternoon. I think that if you are at where I am, you become a little bit helpless. But then, of course, there's hope, because I know that there are other cultural inclined issues, like the FGM, like the troposis, that government commitment have been able to help solve. So I have hope that indeed, if government actually commits, especially with other key stakeholders, like our traditional authority, and then also with the other departments that are for our protection, then indeed we'll be able to leave this helplessness.
In this helplessness, what, from your perspective, really can be done to help these girls? Now, look at it. You mentioned rightly that this is a culturally sensitive matter. These girls are there to support these elderly women. They call their grandmothers, sometimes their mothers. If they leave them, these women will also have a certain need that is not being met. But on the other side, we're looking at the interest of the children. How do we achieve that balance?
So you see, the first thing is that they shouldn't even get to the camp. Because sometimes when a woman at that age goes to the camp, it's very difficult for you to say that she shouldn't be helped. And so therefore, we should work harder to ensure that when women are accused, they are not sent to the camp. And so we have always said that for such accusation, it can still be sent to the police station. Because we've noticed that for some of the accusations that end up at the police station, we don't get the women to be at the camp.
Okay.
And so it makes it quite difficult because these are grandchildren who need to serve their grandmothers.
And will you be able to say for sure that if these children are not serving their grandmothers in these places where they are branded as witches, they will be doing so wherever they live? Will they still have the opportunity to go to school? Will they still not be working? I lived with my grandmother, and my grandmother had a lot of impact on me. I mean, I learned a lot from my grandmother. So I wouldn't say it's such a bad thing. But if even without these so-called camps, how will their lives be any better living with their grandmothers or without them?
Now, you must know that even though the camps are a safe haven, they are not a comfortable home or place. And once a woman is there, she's denied other support systems that she would have gotten at the family or at home. And so because they are away from home, they seem to lose a lot of family support system. And sometimes where they are, it makes it difficult to access other amenities. And so it is not bad to live with a grandmother. I lived with an auntie, I grew up with an auntie, but not in a secluded or no, excluded place. And I didn't have it in my mind that I was a I was a niece or whatever of an alleged. And so that alone, it's quite disturbing.
So again, we can talk about the ideal situation, but we also know that the facts on the ground is that the people within this community sometimes are not ready to accept these people. From what you know, what are some of the things that government agencies have done so far trying to integrate these people back in society? Last year, we reported on the closure of that particular witch camp in Naboli. Are the people able to live with them right now?
Yes, so what we did at Abuli camp was called the relatives of these women, which is difficult for them to go back. And so we talked with the chief, and the chief was able to give them place, to integrate within the community. And so they are living well in the community.
Okay.
We have had issues of reaccusation, in another camp. But that is not to spoil the soup, to say that reintegration is not an option. I think that if government is truly committed and we work harder to ensure that the inflow of these women to the camp is, kind of reduced, and then we do gradual reintegration, I'm sure we'll make a way. So we just need government commitment to resource the human rights, like Shrine, for example, so that they're able to support the process to them.
I know you work with these government agencies, I'm sure, and I'm sure it will be, one of the agencies will be the Ministry for Children and Social Protection. What can you say about their interventions so far and what more they can do from your perspective to deal with this situation?
Well, our interaction at the district assembly is that they support, renew the health insurance of these women. And some of them are actually on leave, but not all of them. But at the regional reintegration level, where we have CSOs like ActionAid Ghana, September, the Go Home Project, the Department of Gender is also a member of that committee, as well as Dove and Strat. And we also have, representative of Revered Chief, and then also the clergy. And so together as a committee, we are, doing community level sensitization. We are also supporting communities, to understand the right violations that comes with accusation. I think in the last year, Star Ghana Foundation also supported us to work with district assembly to get bylaws on the protection of women towards witchcraft accusation. So that's what I can say for now. But then there is a roadmap which the regional reintegration, in a bigger format, develop. And I think that if we come back to it and government shows its commitment, we can really work well with that roadmap to get to where we.
I'm really hopeful that that works, because looking at those who were moved from Naboli and the fact that community engagement has worked, hopefully more of that community engagement will work. But finally, before I let you go, Lamnatu, there are other children. I think about out of over 20 of them, only 13 of them are in school. The rest who are not in school, who were freed along with their grandmothers or so from Naboli. Is there any intervention for these little girls? Going to school in this area is free. All they have to do is get someone to take them, I believe.
Yes, so we are in discussion. Some of them, it is just that they are able to stay close and be able to find something for them to live. So you see that even if education is free and she wakes up, she still needs to find something, for her, the grandmother, to take before she goes. So those are the complications we are looking. That when accusation comes, it is not just the woman. I mean, it has serious repercussions. So we're in discussion. I'm sure we're going to follow back to be sure that they're.
Okay. That sounds to me like a very one of the easiest things that we can do perhaps for these children at this point, just take them to school. But are these women not on the LEAP program?
No,
they are not.
Majority of the women at the camps are not on LEAP.
Okay. Well, perhaps a lead there as well as to how we can help them. Perhaps if we get them on the LEAP, they will be able to have something small that will take care of these children as and when they want to go to school. And they should, really. But Lamnatu, God bless you for the work you're doing for these women up north. Lamnatu Adam there, she's been working with alleged witches who are camped in places, especially in the northern part of the country. We're looking at girls who are not going to school and girls who are serving these alleged witches. How can we take them to school? How can we put their grandparents on the LEAP program? That's the government intervention for people with extreme poverty, at least to support them so they can support these children go to school, which is for free, by the way. Let's talk about flooding. Accra and Kaswa will experience flooding just like it has happened in previous years. That's the message issued, or the warning issued by the Meteorological Agency last week as part of its seasonal forecast. Well, the occurrence of flooding is not particularly new to Accra, except that this year we're being told we will see an increase.
We expect flooding to occur around the Dodo area and then the Kaswa Road there around Weja, and then getting to the this place where we have the Odo area, the Kaswa place, getting to Kaswa around where the mall is, and then coming to the Kwashi area there. Those places are places that we really have to be watching this, because around I think Legon upwards going there, most of the time when it rains we have a lot of these things, and you see cars, they become very unmotorable, and so we have to take the necessary precautions when we are there. With flooding, we will still warn that floods are definitely possible to happen, because the resilient level of Accra particularly has changed. First, to get flooding in Accra, you need to get about 80 millimeters of rainfall. But currently now, even 30 millimeters of rainfall can cause flooding. It's all because our gutters and other things are choked because of the way we have been handling them by dumping in rubbish and other things in these gutters. And these are things that we need to avoid. And then we have to still go by the first month Saturday of with the certain gutters at the community level. If we can help with this, it will actually not help so that the water do not stand or store in the these gutters to breed mosquitoes and other things, which will bring malaria and other things.
That's Michael Tando. There is the Director General of the Meteorological Agency issuing that warning last week. Well, if you've not experienced flooding in Accra before, here's a taste of what happened at Accra's Kwame Nkrumah Circle area. That gives you an idea. Something that we went through in 2015. Nobody wants to go there. Those are very disturbing visuals, I must say. But like I said, no one wants to have a repeat of that here. Well, those rains predicted by a meteorological agency last week have already started falling. If you look outside your window, perhaps right now, you see it's been raining today. But how prepared are we for possible flooding in Accra, Kaswa, and other parts of the country designated as flood-prone areas? That's why we've called on the National Disaster Management Organization to discuss Ghana's preparedness. I have here in the studio Richard Amuyate. He's Director of Inspectorate at the NADMO headquarters. Mr. Ayate, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon to our listeners.
Right.
Or viewers.
Did you come across any bits and pieces of pools when you're coming?
Not today,
because it's just been raining.
We have not received any reports of flooding.
Okay, as of now. Well, take us through the plan. NADMO always has a plan. Sometimes people get criticized because it doesn't work as we expect it to. But what is our plan?
It doesn't work, but sometimes we are overwhelmed.
Sometimes you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Let's go with the plan you have for us this year.
Yeah, every rainy season, following the predictions from the GMET, Ghana Meteorological Service Agency, we do what we call the pre-flood programs, where we work with the district assemblies and the Ministry of Works and Housing to dredge the drainage basins and also community drains, that's the tertiary and then secondary drains. And then we also urge communities and then individuals to observe certain lifestyles that will also help them to mitigate the risk of drowning. Yeah, so these are the things that we do, apart from dredging of the basins and then cleaning of and the set of all other drains. We also educate the general public on things to do and then not to do.
Is that all the plan we have at the moment? Any emergency plan for people who may be flooded in this area, SECO, for example?
Then we also pre-position men and relief items following weather warning. That is, we receive a warning that say in 2, 3, 4 hours time there's going to be rains. We pre-position men. We have trained men who will go out there and then rescue people who are trapped in flood waters. So we have all this, as I speak to you now, our urban search and rescue people are undergoing training, something they do regularly to make sure that their skills are intact for rescue operations.
One of the key...
And then we work with other agencies. You know, we don't do this in isolation. When it comes to rescue, we work with the 48 engineers, we work with the Ghana National Fire Service, and then the Ghana National Police Service to ensure that affected persons are also rescued.
One of the things you mentioned as key in your plan is the dredging of drains in Accra. People have said that what's the point dredging and putting whatever it is you have dredged right at the on the shoulder of the drains. At the end of the day, when the rains come, they just push them all back in.
It is when they are done by, I should say, unprofessionally. And sometimes you have volunteers and communities eager to help, and they don't draw the attention of the assemblies. If you draw the attention of the district assemblies to such cleanup exercises, they will assist you with trucks that will cut the debris and everything from there to the appropriate locations. So sometimes if we don't communicate with the authorities responsible, we just think we want to help, we desert the gutters, drains, and then leave them, and then we think it is done. So it's sometimes maybe when the job is done by people who are not professionals or who are not trained, because they don't communicate properly with assemblies, and these things happen. But when it is done professionally, we take care of all that.
Well, I don't know, but you mentioned also that the NADMO, it's not like NADMO's plans don't work as expected, but that it's because
sometimes you are overwhelmed, no matter what you do.
So let's talk about being overwhelmed. Yeah. What's the resource allocation to NADMO this year to deal with floods?
When you say resource allocation to NADMO this year, I wouldn't be in a position to know exactly. But then what I know is that we prepare for floods. We stock our warehouses with some relief items, so that we are able to pre-position.
Caps, mattresses, buckets.
Yeah, the basics, beddings.
Are those still effective in these days?
When somebody is drowning and the person is rescued, in fact, the first thing the person needs is something to cover themselves from the cold. They need blankets. People have lost their beddings. They need mattresses. People have lost clothing. They need second. I mean, we cannot do away with these. These things are accepted internationally. They're a standard that works everywhere.
I'm saying this because I want you to give us a better idea into when you say you are overwhelmed, and everybody knows this, that there aren't enough resources. What do you have at the moment as NADMO that will help deal with?
The point I'm trying to make is that when there are floods, it doesn't mean that somebody did not do their job. Sometimes you do your job, you do exactly what you have to do, but the sheer volumes of rain will overwhelm the drains that are available.
That means you didn't. That means you didn't plan properly, because we know the flooding situation. These are things that we have experienced before, and that should give us a better idea, put us in a better position to pre-plan.
Sometimes the GMET themselves are overwhelmed. They predict a certain rainfall pattern, and they are overwhelmed. So that is nature. You can't always predict nature, but we try as much as possible to work with GMET. So based on their predictions, we do what we have to do. But then, sometimes you can just be overwhelmed.
I mean, sometimes we will understand, but we know that it's not sometimes. It's almost all the time.
No, it's not all the time.
That people can tell you that if you take visuals of flooding in Accra 2 years, 3 years back, you can decide not to even tell the story anymore, because the visuals will be the same.
Because the people are not living, you tell people don't put garbage in the drains, and they do it. Immediately the floods are over, the flood waters subside, people go back to their old ways. That is the problem we have in this country. That is why we keep on educating the public, educating the communities of the don'ts. But then, once there are no floods, people go back to their old ways until they're overwhelmed with the flood waters and they start doing a few things right. Once the flooding season is over, they go back to their old ways. That is part of the problem.
Is NADMO feeling helpless?
Not helpless, but we have challenges like all other institutions in this country. Yeah.
What sort of challenges are we talking about in this year, assuming that we've dealt with some of the challenges already?
I would say that sometimes we are challenged in terms of equipment. You understand? Sometimes we're challenged in terms of equipment here. Like if you go around the country, let's look at Greater Accra. Apart from headquarters, where we have rescue vehicles available, which are even not in the best of conditions, all the other districts which are part of Greater Accra, they don't have
vehicles, rescue vehicles.
And so they all have to depend on the headquarters.
How many vehicles do you have at the headquarters?
As I speak to you now, the rescue vehicles available are 3.
3? Yeah. For the whole country? Because you say that the other districts don't have it.
I should think so.
What's special? What do
But then the good thing is that we can pool resources.
I'm just a second. I just want to understand, how special are these rescue vehicles? Are they like very special vehicles? Describe to us.
Oh, they are pickup vehicles equipped with some of the equipment that will be needed
to rescue people if they are drowning.
If they are drowning,
Okay.
Or they are trapped,
Right, and we have only 3 of that.
Yeah.
How many more ideally should? Or how many
considering the fact that we have 260 districts, if every district has one fully equipped rescue vehicle, that would be fine.
But at the moment, there's only 3.
Yeah.
That's the headquarters.
And they're not in the best of conditions.
Even the 3 we have are not in the best of conditions. How long have we had them?
I think since about 2012 or somewhere.
About 2012. Yeah. And so we need over. We have so out of about 200.
We need to be equipped. Actually.
Okay. Is that the only thing that's needed, for example, to plan properly for floods? Apart from the rescue vehicles, what else would NADMO need that it doesn't have at the moment?
NADMO needs and we don't have. You know, like I said, all agencies are challenged in this country. We all know the conditions that, so we have to do the best with the resources available.
We know the preamble. We know the preamble. Let's just deal with the specifics of the issue right now. We need to be frank with ourselves as a country and tell it as it is, as far as what our problems are and the things that makes it difficult for institutions to be effective. So I'm asking again, we have, so as for example, when it comes to rescue vehicles, we have only 3. The whole country has only 3. What else is needed that we don't have?
Oh, if we want to talk about the things that we need that we don't have, I don't think we will end this program. Yeah, so let's leave it at that.
No, we can't leave it at that. Give us an idea, at least the must-haves.
Yeah, we need equipment. We need equipment. Yeah, we need to be able to. We need training facilities. Yeah, we need training facilities to train men. Yeah, like I told you, we have 3 rescue pickups at the headquarters. Yeah, we have this urban search and rescue, well trained. Yeah, but
as in personnel.
Yeah, personnel. But it doesn't cut across the country. Understand? We need well-trained men across the country.
So to what extent is the country prepared for the predicted rains on a scale of 100%?
It's an annual thing. Our preparations are always the same. We'll make sure
20%?
Oh, no, 20% is been, give us a pass mark. We are about 70%.
Really? 70%?
Yeah, based on what we have available. Yeah, 70%.
I'm not quite sure if it's clear to me. It's really not clear to me. If you say we're 70%, you can't have 3 rescue vehicles and be 70% prepared.
Because NADMO does not work alone. Sometimes when we overwhelm, we pull resources. Like I told you, we work with the Ghana Armed Forces, work with the engineers, but they also have some resources. We work with the Ghana National Fire Service, they have resources. We work with the National Ambulance Service, they have the Ghana Police Service. So we pull all these resources. And NADMO as an entity,
that's what's available to you.
And then we can pull resources working together with other agencies.
Okay, last year I was involved in a training program with NADMO, all the security agencies. One of the key things that came up is the absence of coordination among these agencies. So in a time of crisis and in a time of situations like this, you don't have. So let's take June 3. The NADMO was working on its own. Ghana Police was working on its own. The Army working on its own. There's been concerns
coordination is not totally absent, but because
no, but that was a that was a
because an issue that was
it was a vacuum that came up. That was no. That was made. That came up during the June 3, and so they realized that these are some of the gaps that we need to fill. I want to find out how that has been addressed. How well do you coordinate among yourselves as these agencies working to make sure people are safe?
Well, like June 3, for example, there was some level of coordination, but we can improve. You understand? When we train together and then exercise together.
Is that happening?
But it is not happening because
it is not happening.
No, we
Why?
Don't. Yeah, because we lack the resources to come together regularly to.
But you don't need resources to come together. These are agencies, state agencies that are already. Okay, help me understand what sort of resources you need, because these are state agencies. All you need to do is to build a platform where all of you will be able to communicate at the same time.
Yeah, to organize simulations, bring everybody on board. It's cost for a huge budget. If you want to organize a full-scale simulation exercise where everybody is going to be on board, where you're going to test all the equipment, you're going to test all men, and then make sure that at the end of the day, you will enhance coordination. You need a very big budget to do that.
See, looks like there's still a very, very long way to go. Your final words, as far as our preparation is concerned.
Yeah, I will advise that. And I will still call on the district assemblies. We are working with them to ensure the removal of all temporary structures from waterways. These kiosks and containers that are on waterways should be removed as quickly as possible. Call on communities to desert the drains, especially the tertiary and then the secondary drains. When it comes to the primary drains, it's government responsibility. And then people should not be pouring garbage into drains. We've been saying this over and over again, and as soon as the rainy season is over, people go back to their old ways. We're also advising people that when they are in places, or people who live in flood-prone areas know, they know the conditions they live in. They don't have to wait for someone to tell them. Once the weather warning, the forecast have come, they should learn to move to higher grounds to save themselves. But they have to be saved before they can even call for help. Then, if they are overwhelmed, they should call emergency hotlines for assistance. That's the 112, or they can call directly to NADMO 0299 350 030.
Okay.
We also advise citizens not to attempt to swim across floodwaters.
Okay.
And they shouldn't also walk across floodwaters from one point to the other.
Okay. Don't attempt to swim and don't attempt to walk
across
floods.
And then they shouldn't attempt to drive through.
Okay.
It could be dangerous.
It could be dangerous. So what do you do then?
Yeah, you just park. If you're driving and you meet floods, you just park.
But sometimes some of us think that why don't I quickly get through this and get home to be safer, because you don't know what's going to happen if you stay.
Some people are successful, others are not, and you cannot tell whether you'll be successful.
So is it that when
on
the
depth of the water,
exactly,
the weight of your vehicle and everything, which you cannot tell. So the best thing to do is to save yourself, and then so you have to stay and wait.
That's a difficult one. That's a difficult one. Yeah. So just a quick takeaway from what he's just said. He said, those of you who live in flood-prone areas, you know, you've dealt with this over the years. Advise yourself and do the things that you need to do once you know that the floods are coming. He's also calling out to district assemblies to ensure the removal of temporary structures, or whether they're temporary or permanent, we don't even know. They don't have to be there in the first place. So also asking people who live in neighborhoods that have this problem to go out there, desert your drains, change in attitudes, advise yourself and make it to higher grounds if you know you live in flood-prone areas. If you get overwhelmed, he says to call 112, which is the emergency hotline, or you can call the NADMO directly on 02993. That's NADMO, right? Yes, 0299 350 That's 0299 350 0030. If you live in a flood-prone area, you want to take down these numbers and then give them a call if you are overwhelmed. But in case you are, you are stuck in town, you need to get home and it starts raining, he says don't attempt to swim when the floods come up. Don't attempt to drive through and don't attempt to walk through. Wait wherever you are until it subsides. But
most of the time, these floodwaters, you can have reptiles, sharp objects, all in them. You attempt to swim, you attempt to walk through, and you get hurt, or you get bitten by a snake or anything.
Okay.
In itself.
Mr. Ayate, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Richard Amuyate is the Director of Inspectorate, at the NADMO headquarters, bringing our minds to the need for us to stay safe as the meteorological agency is predicting more rains. If you live in a flood-prone area, you know what to do. We can overemphasize this. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty and Drop here. A quick break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, and many thanks for your time. Now, don't let hearing loss limit you. Hearing for Life campaign is aimed at raising awareness about the human ear and its related issues. According to the World Health Organization, the key message for this year's World Hearing Day is that timely and effective interventions can ensure that people with hearing loss are able to achieve their full potential. I've been joined in the studio by Rejoice Aqua. She's an audiologist at the department, with the audiologist department at Kolibutishi Hospital. We'll have a conversation about what you and I have to do to protect our hearing. Mrs. Aqua, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so first of all, when I saw hearing, is it hearing day?
World Hearing Day.
World Hearing Day. I was wondering. It's like now there's a day for everything, which is not so bad. But World Hearing Day, tell us a bit more about it. What is it?
World Hearing Day is aimed at creating awareness. It's a day set aside for advocacy to find solutions to problems associated with hearing.
Okay, with hearing.
Yeah.
What are some of the risks we expose ourselves to as far as our ears and the way they work are concerned?
Some of the, in terms of causes, we have causes of hearing loss. We have congenital causes and then causes that are acquired. The acquired causes can be as a result of using recreational.
Okay. So I loved, for example, especially when I was much younger, I loved to always block my ears with an earpiece because I love to listen to music. And I think I'm at a point where when I'm listening to music and it's not loud enough, I don't get to, I don't feel like I'm listening to music. Is that a problem?
It's not a problem per se. These days we have noise cancelling devices that are used in the earpiece and headphones that will reduce the impact of the noise.
Okay.
So it's not really
a problem.
Yes, but long use over time and exposure to very high noise can result in the hearing loss. Okay.
How then do we protect our hearing? What are some of the things you can do, everyday things that you can do to protect your hearing?
In terms of adults, in terms of adult.
So it means that
we have we have two types of causes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can enumerate the causes, then we can.
Well, let's look at adults, and then we can get to children.
For adults, as I said, occupational. We have occupational noise induced and then recreational noise induced. Someone working in noise-induced area, like where there are explosive, high equipment that give out a lot of noise.
So let's say mining.
Yes, a mining area. So you have to use a device, the earplugs, to prevent your hearing.
Okay.
Okay. And then we
that's
have
for the adults.
Yeah, that's for occupational. We have the recreational. We just talked about the recreational, and we also have hearing loss due to aging as well. That one, the sensory nerves are damaged as a result of aging.
Wow. So at what age are we looking at where you're susceptible to having hearing problems?
These days it varies. Some of the time one comes to the clinic as early as 20, 25 years.
Really?
The person just sleeps and wake up and then there's...
the hearing is gone. They can't hear properly.
Yes, but usually from about 50, 60, towards the end of retirement, they come and then you see that the hearing loss, the audiograph will show you that this kind of loss is as a result of aging.
Wow. What are some of the interventions for people who have lost their hearing, who can't hear? I know that there's hearing aid as well. Is that? I don't think that's very common in Ghana, is it?
Really, it's not very common.
It's not very common in Ghana. So
but it's around. It's just that it's not within the public health. Yes, it's very expensive. Very expensive.
So then, what can people like us do? People who cannot afford the hearing aid, what can we do? First of all, to protect our hearing, and what can we do to fix it if there's a problem?
Usually, some of the hearing loss cannot be corrected. Yes, if the hearing is gone, it's gone. But if the hearing loss is as a result of infection to the eardrum, that's the tympanic memory, medication can correct it.
Okay.
So depending on the kind of loss that you have,
then it can be dealt with. So you see the cotton bud that we use to clean our, so to speak, clean our ears. Does that cause us any problems, hearing problems?
Yes, it does. In that the cotton bud is not supposed to be used to clean the ear. You know, the ear, we have a wax in the ear canal that protects the eardrum from infection. As the wind blows, the wax is a bit oily. So as the wind blows, it traps the dust and other infections from getting to the eardrum. So the wax is there. So when you keep removing the wax with a cotton bud, meaning that your ear drum will be left unprotected. And also, if you keep removing the wax, some of the time you might not remove the wax completely. You keep pushing the wax onto the eardrum. So when the ear is full and the drum is full, you're unable to hear.
To hear.
Yes.
So this person will be using the cotton bud to stop.
Yes.
But is it possible that, you know, that some that are a bit thick, is it possible that if you made it less thicker, if you removed some of the cotton, it's safer?
It's not.
It's
not advisable.
So you should not put anything in your ears.
You should not.
What about the feathers that we use there?
That can carry a lot of infection. No.
And so why are they calling it, you assume, in town, and health experts are not telling us anything about it? So everybody else is putting this in their ears.
We are creating awareness. When you come to the clinic, we tell them not to ears, and some of the time we go on outreach program, and it's just that our awareness is not enough. Yes,
I see. Then maybe you should put in a bit more. What about, you said the feather is not good as well, but that doesn't push. It's not as thick as this cotton, so it doesn't really push.
It can introduce infection into the ear.
Even when you clean it, because that's they clean it, right?
How sure are you that it's clean?
I think I've seen people who use it. They'll put it on under running water and wash it, and then they use it to tickle themselves in their ears. It's not advisable.
Yes, if your ear is itching, you just rub.
Like
yes,
that,
yes,
and
conspicuously. Yeah.
I sit here and I'm wearing this thing. Okay, I'm wearing this thing because it helps me. It helps my producers to tell me what to do. Is that a problem?
No,
it's not a problem. So then you can just rub it. You can put something in it as this, like the earpiece and this, etc. But you can't put feathers in.
No feathers. No, you cannot put feathers.
Well, I know some people who will not agree. They will still say it gives them a very, very nice feeling. So they will continue to do it. But run us through, is there a program that's been done to observe World Hearing Day?
Well, this year the program is all about, we are talking about rehabilitation so that those who have hearing loss they will create awareness for them to know what they are supposed to do to achieve their full potential in life.
Okay. Is there any message you want people who have listened to this conversation? What is it that you want them to take away? What should they not forget after here?
Well, what I want to say is that when you have a hearing loss, you should not be ashamed. You should go and seek help. Most of the time, there's a lot of stigma when you tell somebody that I cannot hear. It's like the person is deaf and dumb. No, that word is not used. So it's a lot of stigma. You should go out. Go and then seek help. If your child is not hearing, don't keep your child at home and then saying, oh, the child will talk. Take the child to
seek help quickly. Okay, thank you very much for coming. And hopefully you keep your ears safe. Safe means you don't need to use those cotton bud, whatever it is. They said the feather, putting the feather in your ears, which we do a lot around here in Ghana, is not safe as well. It says that the ears are self-cleansing, so you don't need to attempt to cleanse it. But every now and then you can go to the clinic and have it cleaned, right?
Yeah, if the ear drum is full of wax and you are feeling pain, you go to the clinic, we look into your ears. If the ears are full, then we syringe it for you.
Okay. So that's an option. Save your hearing. This is a day set aside to remind you of some of these things, and hopefully you've had some learning here. Rejoice Aqua is with the Hearing Assessment Center at the Kulebu Teaching Hospital. She's an audiologist helping us on World Hearing Day. I'm moving away from World Hearing Day to talk about COVID-19. Now, all 30 suspected cases of COVID-19 tested in Ghana came out negative, as according to the Ghana Health Service. So far, over 89,000 cases of the virus have been recorded, with over 3,000 deaths worldwide. Senegal and Tunisia, as you may well be aware of, have become the latest African countries recorded cases after Nigeria, Algeria, and Egypt recorded theirs. Across the globe, the World Health Organization emphasizes the need for people to pay particular attention to their personal hygiene. And the Ghana Health Service has rolled out a series of campaigns to get people aware of the disease and then measures to be taken to protect yourself. Today, we take to the barbering shops and salons to speak with operators on measures they are also taking to protect themselves and other clients that they attend to daily.
I think we should keep ourselves safe about this coronavirus. For instance, our sterilizer have to be regular, and then to sometimes the comb that we use, actually have machine spray to spray our machines, and then this is machine spray. So it's work for germs or anybody, anyone that have any effects. See, so when you spray it on the machine, it's to cure all this. So to keep our customers safe.
We've not yet gotten like a case in Ghana yet, but I heard in China like it's spreading so fast. For me in particular, when I'm coming to the barbering shop, I bring my own machine just to prevent any other thing. So I have my personal machine I bring along with me when I'm coming to barber. But I also make sure the other tools here, like they are sterilized before I allow them to use them on me.
We don't have much knowledge about coronavirus. However, as a hairdresser, I will adhere to simple hygienic practices like washing of my hands regularly to keep clients and myself safe.
Actually, I've heard that they said if someone has that infection, that person will be coughing or having a hot body temperature, something like that, but I've not seen it with my eye.
To protect myself, just that I'll be indoors, I won't come out, or maybe I'll just put a gloves in my hand or cover my mouth just to not get in touch with the virus. Since you have been watching it on television and stuff, people will be coughing and stuff, so I think maybe coughing and something like that, I think they have the virus. Sometimes if you come to the hairdresser, they just have to wear their gloves, cover their nose and stuff. But if they have the symptoms, I won't know, since I don't know the symptoms.
What I just need to wash my hands, make sure I wear gloves, and always make sure when I finish sewing and I talk to them, I need to clean myself before going inside the room or something, and I need to know how to interact with them. If maybe they are coughing or something, I just need to pull back, maybe cover my mouth with gloves or something.
Anyone who is infected, like, you should make sure you don't come in contact with them.
I really do not know anything about it. I only know that it's a disease that is in the system. For me, I don't know what to do to protect myself or from others. I really do not know.
What we do is anytime we barber a customer, we treat the machine with a sterilizer, and sometimes we use the spray to clean it and do other things so that we can prevent diseases over here.
People are dying these days a lot concerning this very disease. But then the issue is that there is no cure for this. And so if even you go to a place like this or you come to a place like this, and after barbering your hair, the machine is sterilized, you cannot still ascertain as to whether the virus has been killed or not.
I'll just have to make sure that I take my preventive measures. That is like personal hygiene, like using of sanitizers and all those stuffs. And especially since the virus is transmitted through like airborne and stuff, so we have to provide nose masks and things so that we can prevent ourselves from getting the virus.
So what must you do to protect yourself and your family? We'll bring you those details shortly. Meanwhile, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abuaje, says government is procuring more PPEs to be sent to health facilities as part of the country's preparedness.
Some people feel that it won't come, and so that's the optimism. We don't hope it comes, but we have put our house in order in that if it comes, that is when we are able to pick it up. It's when it comes and you don't pick it up, and that's very dangerous. So our system is to ensure that once the person comes in where the disease is already picked and contained, so that does not give the opportunity to spread. So that's where we are.
If you look at the rate at which it's spread, and I know that you're in constant touch with the WHO and what the country responses need to be, it looks like Africa is said to be the low light as far as the weak link in this global chain of a health system that should be able to combat this.
Well, I mean, health systems greatly depends on infrastructure, it depends on your resources, among others. But also depends on your ability to innovate, your ability, your resilience to be able to respond to those challenges within a limited resources. And I think that is where we are. We believe that within the resources available, we have been able to mount a robust system that allows us to respond to conditions. We've faced H1N1, we had Ebola scare, it never came, but the system was ready, and this time we were able to pick up areas to actually prevent entry. And we've had others, we've been having seasonally, having meningitis, and we have responded appropriately to them.
One of the cases were recorded in Northern Africa. We're talking Algeria and Egypt. And well, we thought it was far off. Now it's scaled up. We have it in Nigeria. The responses of the Nigerian health authorities was that, well, because of the concerns and their preparations for Ebola and the other outbreak that had happened, they seem to have just triggered a response action. Did we have it? Do we have it?
Yes, we've had the Ebola response, and the residues are there, and we have maintained those systems because it works for nearly all outbreaks. We've always had threats of Lassa fever coming to Nigeria, Sierra Leone, etc. So those systems are there. It's a question of triggering them and strengthening them, because this is a different condition, because the rate of transmission is very high, and so we've just had to trigger the same system. And it comes to Nigeria, a person came by air, that plane could have been heading for Ghana. So it's not that Nigeria has attracted, but you don't know when someone else is coming to Ghana, and that's why it's important we maintain the systems at its utmost so that we are able to identify.
We'll certainly be getting to what you must do. What are some of the things you can do to just keep yourself safe? But like we took you through the other time, we gave you some details of the disease and how fast it is spreading, how fast it is killing people. We have an update here for you. I'll just take you through what we have here. So this is from the Johns Hopkins platform, and it totals the number of cases that have been recorded. So we're looking at total confirmed case. This is it provides live updates, and we're told when we had the Chinese guest here the other time that they get the figures from the Chinese government as well. But right now it's beyond China. This is a world health emergency. So 92,197 cases confirmed across the globe. How many people have died so far of this figure? 3,129 have died out of this. So like we told you the other time, there seems to be a good trend here in terms of the number of recoveries, or the rate of recoveries are much higher than the rate of fatality. And so when you look at the total number of people who have recovered from this disease, you're looking at 48,175. That's out of the 92,197 cases that have been recorded. So I'll take you through some data we have here as well. Now, this shows you the number of countries that have recorded the cases. And if you click on it, if you go on your website, your computer, and you click on it, you will be able to click on each country, and it will give you a map, gives you an idea. So we have mainland China, of course, topping the list with 80,151 cases recorded. And right after that is South Korea with 5,186. If you look at Iran, in which country we know that the deputy health minister has contracted the virus himself, the vice president of that country has contracted the virus herself, then you know that it's also a serious matter that they are number 3 on the list. That's Iran. Iran has 2,336 reported cases, confirmed cases, by the way. Italy, which has become the epicenter of the spread of this virus in Europe, is looking at a total of 2,036 cases. Now, remember, this started just about last week. And at last week, we were looking at 7 by 11 a.m. on Wednesday. It had risen to 11. Now, fast forward to this week, we're looking at 2,036 infected people, confirmed cases in Italy, and several people, you know, who have moved from Italy. We know about the Nigerian case that we're told someone who traveled from Italy went to Nigeria with the disease. Now, let's look at others. And by others, they're looking at the cruise ship, for example. On board, there were several people, and we're told that it is one of the fastest spreading areas because the people were contained in a ship. 706 people confirmed with the disease. In Japan, we're looking at 274, and Japan has cancelled quite a number of things. There is an Olympic game that's coming up this year in summer. We're not sure whether that will come up, but several other games have been called off. Now we're looking at Germany, that has a number of 165 confirmed cases. If you heard the Ghana Health Service yesterday, the case that was recorded, or the suspected case that was recorded here in Ghana, we're told that the person came into Ghana from Germany. That person has since died, but the Ghana Health Service insists that the person proved negative, or the test proved negative for that person. We have Spain, there is Singapore, there is the United States of America with 106 cases. In the United States of America, there's been a concern. Yesterday, we were told that they recorded the first death. Well, as we speak, more than 6 people, we're told, have died in the United States of America, and they are putting aside some real big amount to deal with this. There is Bahrain, there's Hong Kong, Kuwait, Thailand, Taiwan, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, as well, 2 countries where our president also has been traveling through. You've heard the concerns raised by Ras Mubarak in Parliament, asking for the president and his team to be quarantined. There is Malaysia, and there is Norway, there is Australia, there is Canada, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, and then the list goes on and on. The last count I did last week were about 50 countries. Now we know that several other countries have joined: Nigeria, Tunisia, Senegal. All these countries have joined, so we're looking at well over 50 countries here. And before I go and tell you about what you can do, just take a look at the statistics we have here. It gives you an idea of how the disease has been spreading since it started. It went all out in January 2020. We know that it started somewhere in December 2019. But between January and March, you see how it has fared. It seemed it was okay. By February, it was going up. And by the 13th of February, we seem to have recorded the highest of 15,000 cases just in February 13th. And as it goes along, it came down, and it seemed to be going down. But we're in March, and it seems to be coming up again. So the red is certainly the number of people who have died. And so we lost a lot more people in February 2013, and the list goes on and on. So how can you keep yourself and your family safe? Take a look at this put together by health editor Fred Smith.
Here's what you need to know about the coronavirus outbreak in China. It spreads very quickly and can be very deadly too. It is spread from animals to humans and can also spread between humans. Symptoms include fever, persistent cough, impaired breathing, running nose, skin rash, persistent vomiting, and unexplained bleeding. The Ghana Health Service and the WHO both advise people to frequently wash their hands with alcohol-based hand rub, or what we call a sanitizer, or warm water and soap. Cover your mouth and nose with a flexed elbow or tissue when sneezing or coughing. Avoid close contact with anyone who has a fever or cough. And if you touched a surface suspected to have been infected, do not touch your eyes, nose, and mouth before you wash your hands. Avoid eating raw or uncooked animal products, and seek medical help immediately if you discover any of the symptoms, and share your travel history with healthcare providers. If you do these, we will all be safe.
So that gives you an idea of what you can do, you know, to stay safe as we pray and hope frantically that this disease doesn't come here. I'll take you to Parliament. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has joined me in the studio. But before we go on to talk about the amendments that they're seeking to do, let's talk about coronavirus, because it's one of the things that have come up on the floor of Parliament. Joseph, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much,
so Ras Mubarak was in Parliament today. His concern is that President Akufo-Addo has been to places like Norway, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and from the list that I went through, all these countries are listed to have had confirmed cases. Tell us Ras Mubarak's concern and how he put it across today.
He actually raised that last week, and eventually the leader of government business, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, made fun out of it and thought that he wasn't being serious about his demands that the president be quarantined. Today he showed up on the floor wearing a white face mask. For him, he's only trying to get the education across and to draw people's attention about the need for them to be cautious and avoid doing things that would end up getting them infected to a certain extent. And he thought there's no better place to really put this out and carry the education across than on the floor of Parliament. So he came in with a mask, went around talking to other MPs and doing business on the floor with a mask on.
That's pretty dramatic. I'm wondering how people reacted to it, especially the majority leader.
Everyone was just looking at him. It really didn't come up for a conversation on the floor. People would extend, you know, talk to him as they see him pass by and ask him about how come he had that on and all. So we saw all of that happening on the floor, but apart from the display, as you would call it, it really didn't come up for a conversation, except that sometime this week we are expecting the health minister back to respond to questions on what is being done to protect Ghanaians and to give an update on the measures that Ghana is putting in place to help avoid an outbreak.
We'll talk about the other things that were actually discussed on the floor of Parliament, but take a look at Ras Mubarak today. This is how he appeared in Parliament today with his mask on. That actually looks like a surgical mask, is it?
He didn't give us the chance to be able to interrogate what kind of.
Okay, has he tied it behind his head?
Yes,
it was tied.
Exactly, it was tied behind the head.
Yeah, that looks like the one that they use in hospital for surgery. I think there's a special mask for, you know, these outbreaks that you just stick it on to your head. And anyway, if you weren't in Parliament, we've taken you there. So, Joseph, we also know that one of the important discussions that came up on the floor of Parliament today was an amendment to the Customs Bill. Tell us more.
So this is a document that had been laid in Parliament about a week ago. Essentially, there is what they call the Automobile Development Program that President Akufo-Addo has spoken about repeatedly. The plan to bring in various automobile companies like Nissan, like Toyota, like Kia to come set up plants here in Ghana. And the effort to get the particular customs bill amendment is to give them incentives so that then they would be able to operate here in Ghana, make profit, and be able to sell their cars enough. And from the conversation on the floor of the House today, one of the things that would happen when that particular document becomes law is that any vehicle that's more than 10 years old cannot be imported into the country. Importation of vehicles more than 10 years old is banned. And then additionally, what is described as salvage vehicles, vehicles that have been involved in accidents and are brought into the country and repaired and used, after this document becomes law, it will not be possible to bring them into the country. And the idea behind it is for the local companies that will be setting up to be able to get markets locally.
And hopefully we will be able to afford those vehicles, because one of the reasons why people buy these vehicles is that it's very affordable, and even though they have to pay a lot in duty charges, they still bring them here. Did they reach an agreement? How did the conversation end?
So the Deputy Finance Minister, Abena Osei-Asare, rightly sought to explain that in the long term, the expectation is that when these plants are up and running in the country and they are producing on large scale, prices will then decline and it will be possible for Ghanaians to afford it eventually. One of the concerns that a report of the Joint Finance and Trades Committee raised is that Ghana is likely to lose something in the region of 800 million Ghana cedis in terms of import duty once that particular document becomes law. And again, she explains that again, there will be losses in the short term, but the long-term goal is for people to get jobs right here in Ghana through the automobile industry, something that the minority disagrees. Inisa Husseini, who serves on the Trade and Industry Committee, makes the point that a lot of livelihoods are at stake, and so government should withdraw this document and come back with a more comprehensive document that provides better incentive packages. So they are not there yet in terms of approving it. They do what we call the second reading. They'll be doing some 7 different amendments to the document before then it gets passed by votes or probably by consensus.
I'm sure the people who want to import are already frantically putting in that effort now because they never know when. Joseph, thank you for that update. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our parliamentary affairs correspondent. Well, if you are in that business, you need to advise yourself. We'll see how that goes anyway. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, there are more stories to tell you about the Airbus scandal. We understand that some names have been popped up. In fact, the Deputy Attorney General has been mentioning former President Mahama. I'll tell you more about that story and others when I return. Do stay. Welcome back. Former officials in the erstwhile Mills Mahama NDC administration are not cooperating with ongoing investigations into the Airbus scandal. Deputy Attorney General Godfred Dame told the High Court a high-level anti-graft meeting Thursday. This observation, according to him, is worrying. According to the government lawyer, a full legal process will be pursued if the people involved refuse to cooperate.
The prosecutor will unravel the full circumstances if the key actors involved will not want to come up and explain their role and circumstances before the people. The legal process will be pursued to ensure that they are held to account. And it's all in the spirit of accountability. And I will reiterate that where a person has taken an oath to defend the Constitution of Ghana, we start with probity and accountability as a guiding principle. It is very unreasonable and ironic that the same person would not want to account to people on a major transaction which has become a subject matter of a criminal investigation in the United Kingdom, and indeed punishment.
Godfred Dame said the Attorney General's office has written to the British government seeking information about the identities of the Ghanaians involved in the scandal.
The entry into of a deferred prosecution agreement, and as I indicated, it was on the back of an admission of the facts. It was on the back of a readiness to cooperate with investigations. It was on the back of the institution of remedial measures by the company in question, and the company was subsequently fined. And the fine is a conviction. The fine was very punitive and deterrent enough. So in this case, where the people are unwilling to admit the fact, of course there will be a prosecution when the full facts are unraveled, and I believe that the full consequences of the law will be applied. So
should the people come forward, admit the facts? Will there be a deferred prosecution? What exactly would happen?
No, definitely not. I mean, the laws of Ghana, even now, do not admit of a deferred prosecution agreement. So indeed, those were recommendations that I was making for a reform of the process for the punishment of commercial crimes. Certain classes of commercial crimes. It's not every commercial crime. It's not plain corruption. It's not plain thievery. It's not plain theft that will be admitted in the deferred prosecution agreement.
Okay, but I still did not get
the nature of the offence that was investigated in the UK definitely may be a little bit different from what the circumstances in Ghana warrant.
Okay, but I still did not get an answer to the question about whether those involved have been invited regarding this investigation.
Well, I believe they've been invited. The whole nation will be aware. Yes.
They've not been invited, or if they've been invited, the whole nation will be aware. What exactly are you saying?
What I'm saying is that definitely they've not been invited because the process was triggered recently. I mean, the referral to the trial prosecutor was even not more than 2 weeks ago, if my memory serves me right. And the Attorney General also wrote very recently triggering a process of mutual legal assistance.
But finally, Mr. Dame, since you are expressing an opinion on the matter today, yes, I would want to find out from you, there's an opinion also going around that this is a political tool for the NPP, especially in an election year.
How can it be a political tool? I think that it was pretty much unsolicited. The Airbus scandal was very much brought upon the NDC by the NDC itself. Was a transaction that occurred between 2011 and 2015. At that time, the NDC was not in office. The actors acted voluntarily. I do not think the MPP or any member of the MPP played any role in the collection of bribes. It was purely by the actors in question, and the judgment occurred in the United Kingdom. It did not occur at the behest of the government of Ghana. It was purely pursuant to proceed investigations that were conducted across 26 countries, the UK, France, United States, as well as 23 other countries, including Ghana. And the government of Ghana had no role at all. So clearly it was unsolicited. It's something that was necessitated by events that occurred in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
That's the judgment of the Crown Court of England. And Ghana government owes it as a responsibility, as a duty to the people to take it up. I think that clearly is the best form of, or the best demonstration of the fight against corruption, the best demonstration of a commitment to uphold the rule of law. It's by President Jonathan Kweku-Addo to have ordered investigations into the matter. And that is what he has done. I think that we must allow the process to go on.
Now, I said finally, though, but one quick one also just before we go, because in your earlier submission, you mentioned that the people or person is going around campaigning. I would want to find out specifically from you who you're referring to.
Oh, I'm referring to the vice president who transformed into a president and won and lost the first won election in 2012 and lost 2016 elections.
And his name is?
Campaigning to come back again in 2020. And I'm saying that if...
Are you referring to Mr. John Dramani Mahama?
Absolutely, clearly. If he superintended such a transaction which became the subject matter of criminal proceedings and indeed a conviction in the kingdom has taken place.
Okay.
And you still want to go around campaigning for votes from the same people, yet you keep mute, you maintain stone silence in respect of the matter to the people of Ghana. I don't see it.
Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame there naming former President John Mahama, who is also flag bearer of the NDC, as the government official one in the Airbus scandal. More details of that story as it develops, we'll bring that to you. Well, before we go on to do sports, some of the persons accused of plotting to overthrow government are said to have held discussions on whether or not to kill the president once the plot succeeds. They're also alleged to have planned to acquire electronic equipment solely for the purpose of jamming the National Communications Authority's system to render all broadcasting stations except the state broadcaster useless. Court correspondent Joseph Akabley was at the Kaneshie District Court as the state urged it to commit them to stand trial at the High Court. We'll bring you the details in our subsequent bulletins with Joseph Akabley. Right now, let's do sports.
Welcome to the Ghana Football Association's press conference for new Black Stars coach Siki Akono. Today, he named his Black Stars squad his first since getting the job, and in what is a new thing for Ghanaians and for Ghana football, we are told that this format has come to stay. That is, before qualifiers and before major competitions, Siki Akono will do what he has just done at the Accra City Hotel. He's going to name the squad and justify the call-ups and allow himself to be questioned by the media. So quite as simple as that. Interestingly, there were 4 debutants in there. You'll see it rolling on your screen now. And there were also quite a number of subplots and talking points, and that's what we'll be looking at. Sadiq Adams Obama is here with us. Sadiq, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so first of all, general overview of what you saw today.
What I observed was that Siki was very well prepared. I could see even the sitting arrangements. The former Black Stars or Black Stars Management Committee member Fred Papo was directly opposite him and signaling to him on, repeated occasions what he needs to say and what he needs not to say. And so he avoided a lot of controversies, even when he was to be provoked. He just calmed the atmosphere a lot of times. His answers were very apt. Players that we have not seen before or watched before, and people wanted to know the reason for their call-up were well explained. I think he had a very extensive knowledge of the squad he invited, and because of the inclusion of the local players, the tempers in the room too calmed down a bit, because people have known him to be a coach who moved directly from the local league to the Black Stars, so he has that history. It wasn't surprising to see more than 3 players from the local league into the Black Stars.
Previously, since you are on that tangent, we have seen a little something like a cosmetic call-up for the local players? I mean, we are looking at the Ash Gold player who has been good, Kojo Amakun, who has been good. We've seen Yaya Mohammed also. Habib Mohammed of Asante Kotoko is there. These are three of the key ones we've seen also, in addition to Richard Atta of Accra Hearts-of-Oak, the goalkeeper. What do they have to do to ensure that it's not cosmetic?
Well, I think this wouldn't be, because the two players in the squad, the two defenders, Kojo Amwakon and Habib, were players who were brought to Ash Gold by CK. They are players he knows very much. He had even to move Habib from Ash Gold to Kotoko. When Habib was a French player at Ash Gold, he signed him when he was moving to Kotoko. It tells you that these are players he knows, he trusts. Beyond football, their commitments, what they can give on the field, a lot of things came to play, in my opinion, before the invitation or call-up for Habib and Kojo Amwakon, particularly because he knows them very much. He gave Kojo Amwakon his debut at Ash Gold. So there's so much to talk about when these players are invited. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kojo Amwakon starting, even against Sudan. And CK is a coach who knows the league very well. Duncan has been doing the scouting duties for him from the local front. I don't want to believe that these are players who have been invited, and in the final 18 on the day you wouldn't see, except for the goalkeeper. I would want to see CK Akono giving them opportunity, and as I mentioned, because he knows them very much, it wouldn't be too much to see the players having a day in one or two of the matches. The cosmetic call-outs for the local players should be over with CK in charge. When was the last time we saw three outfield players in the Black Stars? It tells you that he knows his game, he's watched them, and once you've watched them very well, you need to be able to give them the opportunity to play. That's basically it.
So the overall experience, how the thing was organized, CK's demeanor, how everything was put together, over 10, the overall experience.
Well, he was very well prepared, even for questions beyond the squad. I know for some of the questions they had basically rehearsed on it before this collapse. Fred Papu was very thick in that affairs and not trying to, caught in controversies for CK, his demeanor said it all. He was very excellent, the interactions and organization, but I wouldn't want to see, this is something that we've spoken about on many occasions. I do not watch press conferences elsewhere and see supporters wanting to ask questions because they are an integral part. We just have to go out and invite other supporters to come and ask questions to, and playing of drums and musical interludes. We are far, beyond that. We do not have to entertain such acts again at press conferences. It nearly marred a very excellent occasion.
Thank you, Sadiq. We appreciate your time. Next up is my colleague, Michael Otieje from TV3 Network as well. Welcome. Michael, your initial thoughts on what has been a historic day, especially for us, the media, seeing this happen for the first time?
Well, I think so just to pick off of the back of what Sadiq said, my one sore point was the supporters union getting a quarter of the room when journalists were standing. I think I'm passionate about respect for journalists, and I think it didn't show enough to journalists. But that's in the larger scheme of things, it's a side issue. I think CK conducted himself reasonably well. He was dressed for the occasion. He communicated well and clearly, even though the politics of squad selection meant that it wasn't every question that he could answer in the clearest possible terms. But overall, good delivery, good preparation. I like the live streaming idea, even though it puts our work under a bit of pressure. And I like the fact that generally it looked a bit more professionally organized than previous ones.
Excellent. To the nitty-gritty of the matter, what did you like about the call-ups, and what didn't you like about it?
I like that he's kept a core of the former team. So Richard Ofori, Andy Yadom, Joseph Aidu, Kasim Nuhu, Mubarak Wakaso. I'm conflicted on Wakaso because he's very good for Ghana, hits too many wayward passes for Ghana, and hasn't played a lot. But sometimes it's important to send a message that if you give your absolute all in the national team, we will have your back in certain moments. So I can understand that. I like the full home-based players. I like that Yaya Mohammed has been told that once he's doing well, he gets his chance. What I didn't like, the absence of Salisu. I still think that Christian Achu has a big role to play in the national team. I don't understand why Schlop is in there. And it also leads me to something else, which is maybe at a point...
It's not in there.
It's not in there. Yeah, which leads me to something else. I'm beginning to get the impression whether we are being told exactly what the situation are with all those players. Are they being dropped out of tactical considerations, or there are issues that nobody's talking to us about? Because I really don't think that that's what it boils down to. But overall, reasonably very good call-ups. I would have preferred Salisu to be in. You know, I like to see players at the highest level. We always complain. So when they play at the highest level, I want to see them in the national team. I like the idea of Tariq Lamptey at right back. He may be with the he's on loan at Brentford. Brentford doing well. I need to check his numbers. But I like that we make a conscious effort to draw in as many players from other sources as possible. And Lamptey is, for me, evidence that we are going to be doing a lot of that.
Now, one sore point for a lot of people was the fact that CK talked about Kevin Prince Boateng, and he gave the answer that the guy does not want to come. Do you think as journalists we should that answer should kill it once and for all? We shouldn't mention Kevin again?
No, it won't kill it, because so long as he continues to play, he's a relevant subject. So I can understand why people still ask. I think he doesn't want to play. It's good riddance to bad rubbish, to be honest with you. I don't think that we need to bother ourselves with Kevin. He came, didn't do much. He found a new calling. He's gone to that calling. I don't even like the idea that CK had a conversation with him. But it's CK's prerogative to have the conversation with who he wants to have with. He must learn to move on sometimes. So it's all right. I can't tell any journalist what their top priority in terms of story should be, but I don't touch the Kevin Prince Boateng story. I don't care what it's about, because I think that ultimately Ghana has moved on, and Ghana should continue to move on from Kevin Prince Boateng. He's had his time at club level. He's doing well. The Black Stars have not collapsed since he left. The Black Stars have not done any worse than when he was here. Everybody's happy. Everybody should continue to be happy.
Nice one. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate your time. So, CK Akono also mentioned that he would want to work with a core of 40 players, but at the moment that list is a bit bulging, which gives us an idea that he wants to keep things tight, and he's not going to do what many of us thought Kwesi Appiah was doing, as in extending the reach of the Black Stars call-up. That's a subject we'll look at.
And this is where we wrap it all up. There is more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Gifty Ando-Appiah. If you go on to myjoyonline.com, we have our carefully selected stories for you there. You can scroll all the way down on that page and you get to see our top story. I am being vilified because of what I know. Senior military officer speaks in coup trial. Ahead of that was a tragic story of the death of the head of the political desk of TV3, Edward Kwabi, who is also a member of the Presidential Press Corps for former President John Mahama, who died after surviving an accident 5 years ago. Scroll all the way down on that page. Our YouTube link is there. It has more of our programs. You can follow us from there.